If you've ever turned on your distortion pedal and wondered, where did all my clarity go? This fixes that. Today, I'm installing a clean blend circuit into this distortion pedal, and honestly, this is one of the best mods you can do to any dirt pedal. In one of my previous videos, I built this exact circuit and tested it on the breadboard. But today, this is the real version. I had proper PCBs made for this project, so we're gonna populate the board, wire it up, and then drop it into this distortion pedal. And then actually hear what it does to our effect when we mix in our clean signal. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor, PCBWay. I had these boards made by PCBWay, and this is exactly why I use them. The silkscreen is solid, the through holes are plated, and everything is exactly how I designed it on the computer. Whether you're designing your own circuits or just turning your breadboard builds into real pedals, PCBWay is definitely the way to go. You can create your own custom order by putting in the dimensions of your PCB, choosing through various different options, uploading your files, and your PCB boards will arrive at your doorstep in just a few days. I'll have a link in the description if you want to check them out. Thank you PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the build. So this is our clean blend circuit here, and here's the quick overview. Our clean signal enters our circuit right here and then goes into the non-inverting pin of our TL072 op amp. We have this voltage divider right here also going into our non-inverting pin of our op amp. Our output is sent out of pin number 1 and going into this side of our dual gang pot. Our effect signal comes into the circuit right here through this 100 nanofarad coupling capacitor and enters this side of our dual gang pot. And then simply both wiper lugs of our dual gang pot are connected together and summed for our output. We're using this dual gang pot because it has two different sides to it. And we've wired it in such a way where when you turn the knob, one side gets quieter while the other side gets louder. That way we can control how much clean signal and effect signal is in our mix. It's a pretty simple circuit, but insanely powerful in practice. Now I'm gonna put this breadboard away, and now we can focus on populating this PCB with all of our components for the circuit. All right, here are all of the components that we're gonna need to populate our PCB. All we need are 6 resistors, 1 IC for our clean buffer stage, 1 dual gang pot, and 3 caps. We're gonna start by populating the resistors, then moving on to the caps, then our IC, and then finally I'll add all of the wires we need for our off-board connections. I'm going to start adding the resistors to my PCB, starting with these two 1K resistors, R5 and R6. Then I'm going to add my 1 meg resistor, R3. Next, I'm going to add my two 10K resistors, R1 and R2. And then finally, I'm going to put my 1K resistor, R4. Now I'm going to flip my board over, and I'm going to start soldering these connections. Okay, now I have my resistors on my PCB. I'm going to move onto the caps next. Here I'm going to put my 1 UF cap. Then right here is my 47 UF cap. And then finally C3 is our 100 NF cap. So just like before, I'm going to flip this over and solder these connections. This is honestly where having a PCB shines. I'm not second guessing any of my components or connections. I'm just simply dropping them in and soldering them in place. Now all I have to do is put my IC in the PCB, And then we can move on to all of the offboard wiring. I can see right here that my little notch is at the top, so I want to make sure I do the same when I put my IC in. I'm using my other little helper arm here to help prop up the IC so it doesn't fall out while it's upside down. All right, so now I'm just going to check all of my solder joints to make sure I have a good solder bead for every component. I'm happy with how this is turning out so far, so now I'm just going to cut some wire and we can drop it into our PCB board for our offboard connections. All right, I've got my wires cut for our offboard wiring, as well as connected some wires to our dual gang pot off camera. So now I'm just going to simply put these wires in each of these connections right here, and I'll meet you back when I'm done. Okay, I just added these 5 wires for our 9 volts, our ground, and our output, as well as our clean in and effects in. And now all I have to do is hook up the offboard wires for our dual gang pot. How we wire up our dual gang pot is going to be really important. The easy one is these 2 middle lugs for our clean side and our effect side. They just go in the middle row of our connections right here. Where it gets a little bit more complicated is wiring up our lug number 1 and lug number 3 on both sides. Basically, we want them to be hooked up opposite to each other. So if this was our clean side, we can have our clean signal going into this lug, and then this lug would be our ground. And then if this was our effect side, we'd want to do the opposite of that. So this is where the effect signal would come in, and this side would be going to our ground. So whichever side you choose for clean and your effect, you just want to make sure that they're wired opposite to each other, or else as you turn up the potentiometer, it'll just make both clean and effect louder, and when you turn it down, you'll just get nothing. So really pay attention during this part if you're following along. So I just made those final connections for our dual gang pot, and now we're ready to drop this into our effect pedal. Here is the effect pedal that I'm going to be installing the clean blend into, and this is a Proco Rat style distortion. The idea here is really simple. For our 9-volt connection, I'm just going to simply connect it to our 9-volt DC adapter up here. For ground, I can connect it to any of our existing ground connections, whether it be on our foot switch, straight to the DC adapter, or to the negative lug of our in and output jacks. For the output of our clean blend PCB, I'm just going to connect it right here to this lug on our foot switch, which is connected to our output jack. Similarly, for the clean in, I'm going to connect it straight to the tip of our input jack. And for the effects in, I'm going to connect it to this lug right here on our foot switch, which I know the effect output is going into. The only thing else that we have to do is just drill another hole in our enclosure to fit this new potentiometer that controls our clean blend. I'm going to start by soldering in our clean in to the tip of our input jack. I'm now going to connect our ground wire to one of the sleeve connections of our in or output jack. I'm going to do it to my output jack right here. I'm now going to connect my 9-volt wire straight to my DC adapter positive terminal. I'm going to connect my output wire to my output lug right here on my foot switch, and then I'm going to connect my FX in wire to my FX in lug on my foot switch right here. So that's our clean blend circuit added to our pedal. Now I'm just going to drill an additional hole for our new potentiometer, box this up, and we can hear how this clean blend affects the tone of this distortion pedal. I'm going to quickly play my clean tone, the pedal in its stock form, and then I'll start sweeping through our new clean blend knob so we can hear how introducing our clean signal into our distortion affects its tone. You can hear that the distortion sounds really good by itself, but what we're really missing is some of that low-end clarity. I'm first going to start with a low gain setting, and I'm pretty much going to have only the clean signal coming through. I'm gonna then start turning our clean blend potentiometer towards the effect side until we can get a really nice light distortion sound where we keep the clarity of our guitar, but a nice bit of grit on top of it. So this is our tone right now with pretty much all of the clean. We hear just the slightest bit of distortion coming through. So now I'm gonna start sweeping our clean blend potentiometer towards the effect side. So that sounds really good to my ear. It's kind of like a light overdrive where we get a little bit of that dirt on top, but a lot of our clean signal still in the mix. I'm now gonna set this at like a medium gain, and we're gonna do the same thing where I start with the clean signal pretty much all the way up, and then we'll dial it back a little bit. So we can hear pretty much all of our clean signal right now. So now I'm gonna start blending in the effect. We get a really nice low gain distortion tone from this setting, and we also keep the clarity of our bottom end and a nice warmth to the entire tone. And for context, this is what this setting would sound like at 100% effect. Finally, we're gonna move on to a high gain distortion tone, and like the other ones, we're gonna start with our clean blend pretty much all the way onto the clean side and then start introducing the effect as we go. By moving our blend knob just a little bit more towards the effect, we can get this really nice layered tone where the clean signal is definitely more prominent, but the distortion is in the background, kind of sounding like a double take. And now I'm going to move our clean blend even further towards the effect. We get a lot more of that distortion tone, but the bottom end is still nice and smooth from our clean signal. And for context, this is what 100% of the effect sounds like right now. We definitely lose a lot of low end clarity when we have the distortion cranked like that and no clean blend in the mix. It definitely makes a huge difference having that clean blend in our pedal. That's definitely why you see this clean blend knob in a lot of higher end boutique pedals, because it makes such a difference in the tone of whatever effect it's installed in. In general, after playing around with the blend knob, the natural attack of the guitar comes back. Everything feels just a little bit more organic and alive, and the low end really tightens up in a nice way, and overall the tone is just a lot warmer. So yeah, this is a super simple circuit, but it completely changes the way your pedal feels. If you want to take your breadboard builds to the next level, definitely check out PCBWay. They are perfect for this kind of project. If you like content like this, consider subscribing and giving this video a like. That's all from me. See you in the next one.